Hello and welcome. This is Alchemist X, and this is the weekly update for January 20th. So we have got a collab for Crystal of Reunion / Brave Frontier. So these are both Gumi properties, so they're a little bit safer in terms of investment because we know they'll come back because Gumi doesn't have the same restrictions as they would for something like 7 Deadly Sins or that time I was reincarnated as a slime. So in this iteration of the collab, we've got the new unit Masakado, who's the one out of two new units. The other one, who is either like Dark Oliver, Dark Olivier, not totally sure how that's pronounced, will be out for the second part of it, but that's going to come later. So Masakado also has a memento that he's going to share with the other unit. And there's a few new maps and otherwise not a whole lot going on. But I will say that as far as the units involved in these two collab events go, it's a very good time to try and acquire them, and they've also gotten the upgrades you would expect, like being up to gate 7, and then apparently they've also gotten some extra boosts that are exclusive to global, so that could be pretty handy, combined with the fact that they can be enlightened using generic shards. Of course, the scarcity of those shards is another thing entirely, but from just the overview of the week so far, it's left me with a fairly positive attitude towards the different characters as from like a standpoint of resource management and consumption. Masakado especially I find interesting because he is a damage support hybrid. I always like characters that can fill multiple roles because sometimes, you only have 4 slots in a team and got to make the most of it. So quick in, overclock, some veil from negative chrono effects, as well as some debuffing. So even if his damage is kind of average, the amount of utility that he can provide can, make him comparable to, say, like a unit like Nyx, which is, Nyx isn't like the biggest powerhouse in any one way, but the combined utility of all the different things that he can do often will justify his slotting into a team. So I'm definitely on board for Masakado. And then I also used to use Merlinus quite a bit, so having her being updated to current standards could be pretty fun as well. So that's all I've got for the introduction here. So let's take a look at the content in a little more detail. Okay, so first things first, let's take a look at the challenge board. So Masakado has one where you can get a total of 200 extra shards if you have the unit, which in addition to the regular soul shard quest, it's always great for new units because it can be hard to want to pull for someone if you don't have a solid plan of how to enlighten them, because if you can't enlighten them, then it's much harder to use them. I will say with Masakado though, you don't necessarily need as much enlightenment as you would for like a heavy damage dealer, because if he's mostly just there to provide the veiling, quickening, overclocking, then he isn't going to need as much. There's also challenge boards for the different types of collab coins, which you can then use to buy shards of the characters that you own. So if you're going for Masakado, you can get even more for free, or if you have or want to get Merlinus, Arthur, Lunaris, or Selena, then you can get some free shards pretty easily there as well. So definitely worth your time. Then let's take a look at the maps. So they added another returns quest. Mostly just do it if you want a challenge. Otherwise, the rewards are kind of meh. There is a new quest that involves Masakado's sword. So if you're going to use him, definitely get that. Always a good opportunity to see what a character's kit is about, because those levels are always tailored for them. And then otherwise, that's about it for the content. So let's go ahead and take a look at the banners. Okay, so here we are at the banners. So there are 3 different paid banners that are all 3-step types, where you can get some extra coins, and otherwise I think they're pretty unremarkable. They're pretty much just paid versions of the 3-step unlimited, and I just don't think it's worth the price tag. Like at the end, if you're unlucky, you'll just walk away with some extra coins and 25 shards of the unit that you want to get. I think there's much better ways to spend paid gems. There's also 3-step unlimiteds, one for Masakado, one for Merlinus and Arthur, and then one for Selena and Lunaris. If you're going to transmute, and these can help you with the extra 25 shards, maybe, but in general, they are thoroughly outclassed by the 9 steps below them. So in general, I think most people could easily skip them, even if they're going for the respective units. So before I continue, just a basic note about acquisition in these units. They're all available in the Wii Shop, so transmutation is definitely an option. However, they all have 9 steps, and Masakado is, you have to go all the way to step 9, but for the other 2 banners, for Merlinus, Arthur, Lunaris, and Selena, you can get them on step 5 of the respective banners, and they also give shards along the way. So I don't really recommend transmutation for once. You know, unless Masakado, if you're trying to like really min-max your gems, but especially if you've got your discount tickets saved, I just think this is the better way to go because you don't have to rely on RNG. You can knock out, if you've got 3 discount tickets, you could knock them out and you're, you know, looking at like 17.5k to get the unit. So definitely, I'm glad that they did this because sometimes it can be a pain, or if you just have a really bad week and shop RNG, just getting rid of that stress, I think it is great. So that's what the Masakado one looks like. And then these ones are a little bit better because they're older units. I would say in general, none of these units are must-have. Like Masakado has a kit I find really appealing from like a flexibility standpoint. Merlinus is a great ice mage, but if you've got Emerus, Dark Mira, Otima, especially with his limited memento, you might not need her. And then Arthur's a fire slash unit. There's a million of those. Selena's a water slash unit. There's also really, really good options like Ainz and Yaris and other people. Lunaris is a dark pierce unit. So, I mean, there's Kudenstein, but there's not a lot of other options. So, especially if you need dark pierce, I could see her being a good option. She's good for some of the same reasons as Kudenstein, like HP draining, that kind of thing. But because her kit is older than Kudenstein's class change, it'll definitely feel less impactful. But in the end, like, if you like any of these characters, they are fairly easy to get, and so it's a very good time to get them, regardless of what your reasoning is. Meta, waifu, whatever it is, definitely good options available. And if you happen to want the mementos, pretty much the same thing. They're available on 5 steps, so you can guarantee that. So overall, I think it's a pretty good value. Like, even if these units aren't the best ever, the gems required to obtain both them and their mementos is definitely not too bad, especially because the memento banners aren't going anywhere for a while. So if you're going to throw your discount tickets at getting the unit, you could do that, and then use any leftover discount tickets for the next couple of weeks toward putting them towards the memento banners. So you could end up saving a pretty decent chunk of gems just because of that. So I definitely give this week a thumbs up in terms of available options. So speaking of available options, there is also a free summon that I already did earlier today where you can potentially get the units. So I've been recording that every day, and so far I haven't gotten anything noteworthy, but I want to wait until Wednesday, and then I'm going to put out a summon video, because I definitely want to get Masakado, because I think that kid is just too appealing. But because there's a chance, even if it's a very, very tiny chance, that I could get him for free, I'm going to hold off until Wednesday, until after I've done the last free summon. I'm guessing that's probably not going to happen, so I'll end up putting out a summon video doing the 9-step for him. And then I'm going to wait until probably the last week of the memento banner and then get that. So that's kind of what my game plan is regarding this collab. So if you are summoning, I wish you good luck, and I will see you all next time.